code builds product, but brands build companies. And in this lesson, I'll show you how to use brand as a strategic weapon from day one. Hello, smart people. How are you today? If we haven't met yet, hello, I am Sophia Matveeva. I am a non-technical founder who has built tech businesses from scratch without coding, and I've helped governments and Fortune 500s upskill the digital economy. And this show is where non-technical founders learn how to build tech ventures and great careers without drowning in tech jargon. And if that's your goal, then hit subscribe. So first of all, when I talk about brand, I think that quite a few of you might think logos. I need to get a pretty logo. Please, for the love of God, do not do this. Honestly, I have made logos on Canva myself, and I've also hired people from Fiverr for $100 to create a logo. So please do not obsess over logos before you have anything, because a logo is not a brand. A brand is something that goes much further. And the thing is, an app, that's just a product. A logo is just a logo. A brand is about trust. And what I mean about brand building is about building trust. So why does trust actually matter more than features and what features you should have in your product? Because trust gets you early users. So early users have to trust that this new thing that they've never used before is going to be decent, or at least going to be improved. Trust attracts investors because investors have to trust you that you're actually going to do the thing you said you were going to do. And trust builds teams, because if you're not trustworthy, then nobody's going to want to work with you. And the thing is, apps are very easy to copy, especially now. Like you could just take, I don't know, WhatsApp, take that screen, put it onto Galileo, and then it will make you another version. Apps are easy to copy, but trust, i.e. brand, is not. This is why on the Tech for Non-Techies show, where we often cover technology, I really want you to understand why brand is so important and not to confuse it with silly things like logos and fonts. And this comes at a really perfect time, because actually we're doing a brand-focused mini-series, because right now it's Cannes Lions season. And Cannes Lions, if you haven't yet heard of it, it is like the advertising industry's Oscars. So it's where all the big ad agencies, the big brands, celebrities, and also the big tech companies that are funded by basically funded by advertising, where they get together in the French Riviera and give awards and have events and so on. And I am going, it's happening next week, and I have just arrived in the Côte d'Azur early. So it's fabulous. Bonjour. If you've never been to the French Riviera, what are you doing? It is amazing. You should come. Okay, here's what we are going to cover in this lesson. So we're going to cover what brand is. We're going to cover why it matters for tech-enabled businesses. And we're going to talk about the 4 things you need to focus on before product development. So you might want to take note. Okay, so here is a common mistake that I see in my classes. So when non-technical founders join our Tech for Non-Technical Founders course, I often see that they have this idea, they might even have a list of features that they want to have. And the features might be actually pretty vague, like we need to have gamification, we need to have a community board, and then people are going to get notifications about community posts. And I think, okay, why? So basically, I have to stop them in their tracks, because I say, honey, we need to define your brand positioning first. So brand positioning consists of 4 major components. So who is your audience? What is your brand promise? What is your brand identity? And what is your emotional pull? And this kind of sounds a bit weird and abstract. So I am going to give you an example of Tech for Non-Techies. And if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are at least a little bit familiar, even if we've just met, with the Tech for Non-Techies brand. So I will show you what these 4 components mean in practice. So number 1, our audience, they're non-technical founders. So that could be corporate innovators, it could be existing business owners that want to add tech to their business, or it might be early stage founders. So, maybe you've just had an idea for an app. But all of these people are not coders, they're not developers. So audience and non-technical founders. What's our brand promise? Our brand promise is to make tech accessible and interesting without jargon, and we use lots and lots of examples and anecdotes to basically make sure that tech is accessible and that it's interesting. So I'm actually giving you an example of a concept right now. What's our brand identity? Our brand identity is excellence, intelligence, and humor. So you might have picked up on that even unconsciously when I said hello smart people. I always open a show, I always open a lesson with hello smart people. It basically assumes that you're clever, I'm clever, we're going to do some clever stuff together, but also we don't take ourselves too seriously. And what's our emotional pull? Well, we are the antidote to the tech bros. So I have personally gone through the same struggles and confusions that you have. And so I know that it can be really overwhelming and frankly unpleasant and humiliating to be locked out of the tech world. And so Tech for Non-Techies is built in the belief that you do not have to be a coder to lead. This is why I bring you lots of examples of non-technical founders who've succeeded. And also our instructors are selected specifically only if they can speak clearly and in an interesting way to a non-technical audience. So you've now got a pretty clear idea of the Tech for Non-Techies brand. And now, without checking, do you know our brand colors? Do you know what our logo looks like? Do you know what our font is? Do you care? I expect you don't. So do you see my point? A brand is not a logo. So the main thing that I want you to remember is that brand is what people feel and believe about your company when you are not in the room. Brand is the emotional shortcut that gets you chosen, especially when your product is early and imperfect. And let me tell you, your product is going to be very imperfect, even when it's not early. Okay, and this is also why, trust and what people say about you when you're not in the room. This is also why personal brand is especially important for founders because, your personal brand is going to be older and more established than actually your company brand. But that is another topic. We don't have the time in this lesson to talk about your personal brand, but I have done other episodes on personal branding, and I've linked those in the show notes if you want to learn about personal branding for non-technical founders, which I really recommend you do. Then just click on the links below. Okay. So why should non-technical founders especially focus on brand early? Well, if you're not technical, you're not competing on code, are you? So you got to have a strength, and I suggest that brand is going to be your strength. So early customers are going to forgive imperfect results if they believe in your brand and if they believe in your mission. And so if you're not technical and you're not focusing on building the infrastructure, you are focusing on the brand. There are like literally two things. You're either making the product or you are selling the product. So the brand is part of selling. Okay. I just mentioned the word mission, and I don't know about you, but whenever I hear people talk about company missions, I get really annoyed because I think, oh my God, it's going to be some sort of do-goodery thing, like maybe you're selling nuclear weapons, but actually you're talking about your mission to save the world. That's not what I mean. A brand and a mission do not mean that you have to pretend to be a do-gooder. So, for example, let's look at Goldman Sachs. So, Goldman Sachs, the investment bank, they are not warm and fuzzy. They don't try to be warm and fuzzy. Goldman Sachs bankers, don't go around giving hugs. I hope not, anyway. But their brand stands for excellence. It stands for high standard. It stands for, okay, we are really expensive and we give you an amazing, amazing service. Let's take another brand, which is definitely not a do-gooder. McDonald's. Okay, they literally make junk food that makes you fat and is a major contributor to the obesity epidemic. They're not do-gooders. They're not noble. But their brand and their mission is basically delivering consistently decent food all around the world. So I've been to McDonald's in Delhi and in New York, and it's pretty much the same. Okay. So the thing is, investors back missions and not just apps. And this is not because investors say we want to, back companies that change the world for the better. Don't listen to that. Investors are in it for the money. The thing is, a mission is scalable. An app is just a product, and a product can be easily copied. What VCs, what investors want to do is they want to fund category leaders. They want to fund platforms. They want to fund movements. Again, sounds wishy-washy. I'll give you an example. Let's look at Uber. Uber's product is pretty simple. It's press a button, get a ride. But what's their mission? Their mission is transportation that is as reliable as running water. And they wanted to disrupt how we get around. And honestly, it worked. I use them all the time. So VCs backed Uber's mission and not just the app. Because, for example, there's also Lyft that has basically the same app. It also kind of has a similar mission, but anyway, that's another story. So what I want you to see is that investors back ambition, scalability, and human problems. So you're not just solving a tech problem, you're not just creating an app, you're solving a human problem. And the human problem is what brand building is all about, because brand building is about trust. Okay. When I talk about investors, I do not want you to think that the only way to be successful is to raise money. So I raised money for my first company. I have not raised money for my second company. Frankly, I am doing much better. I'm really enjoying myself in my second company. So my advice to you is don't raise money unless you have to, and unless you have a really, really good reason. And do your best to resist this kind of atmosphere that we're in right now, where fundraising and success in fundraising is like success as being a business person. Those are very different things. But the reason why I wanted to talk to you about what investors are looking for is I want you to see yourself as an investor. If you are building a company, if you're building a new product, you are investing your time. Okay, money renews, time does not. Time is your only non-renewable asset. So the more you think like an investor does, the more you see yourself as an investor, the better decisions that you will make. So that bit that I talked to you about, how investors think, that's how I want you to think. It's not about fundraising, because fundraising might not be right for you. Okay, so now, as a result of all this theory, what are we going to do? So here are 4 brand foundations I want you to work on before you start touching anything to do with product. So foundation number 1, clarity. Do you know who you serve? Do you know why you exist? Who are you serving? You really need to understand your target customer. Number 2, what's your brand story? So what problem are you solving? What is at stake? And the reason why this is a story actually really helps to think about, okay, you know, when this person experiences this problem and we don't exist, then bad things happen. But when this person experiences this problem and then we exist, good things happen. This is why clarity and story are really, really interconnected. Okay, number 3, what trust signals do you have that basically people trust you and are willing to back you? And you can get these trust signals without building a product. Do you have an email list, for example, of people who are interested in your product even before you launch? Do you have like a list of beta users? Do you have a social media following for this product, for the mission that you're building, for the brand? Have you done interviews with users? So, for example, social media following, that's going to be more relevant to B2C. But for B2B, you should have definitely done interviews with users. And those interviews should indicate that these people are going to be interested in what you're doing, because you've got clarity on who you serve, you've got clarity on the problem. And now you've got some people who said, yes, when this comes out, please let me know. Do you maybe have a community waitlist? Yeah, all of these trust signals you can get, and you should get, before you start fiddling around with Figma or Galileo or talking to designers, and definitely before talking to developers. Okay, and the number 4 thing is that I want you to speak human and not tech. Okay, and non-technical founders and technical founders are both guilty of this. And I want you to describe I want you to have clarity. I want you to describe your story. I want you to have trust signals and to describe all of them in a human, normal way, not like a tech bro weirdo. So I'm going to give you an example. Here is tech jargon. Our platform leverages blockchain to decentralize financial transactions. What is that? Why are these words together? That should not be said ever. Okay, human voice instead. We make it faster and cheaper for you to borrow money from real people, not banks, all online. Okay, which one of these do you understand? You understand the human one. And the thing is, with this kind of tech bro speak, sometimes it does make us feel stupid because we don't get it and we think, well, maybe I should understand it. Actually, no, you shouldn't understand it. They're idiots for speaking like that. Don't speak like an idiot. Okay, so once you've got these four elements, then you can actually use this human description of what you're doing to build a landing page and then gain further trust. You can use all of these tools to speak to user experience designer to tell them what problem you're solving, for whom, why people want you to solve this problem because you've done user interviews, and you can actually explain what you were doing and why in human language. You can do this with a user experience designer, or if you don't want to speak to user experience designer first, because they do cost money, you could actually use AI tools like Galileo effectively, because you could use those four aspects literally as prompt to put into an AI designer, and then the likelihood of those designs actually being quite decent is much, much higher than if you were basically just winging it. So please promise me you're going to work on brand first. You are not going to open an AI code builder or an AI designer and just start fiddling, because that can be fun, but it doesn't usually lead to good results. Okay, so what are the four elements? The four elements are clarity. Who do you serve and why do you exist? Number two, story. What problem do you solve and what is at stake if this problem does not get solved? Number three, have you collected any trust signals from your potential users? Do you have an email list of beta users? Do you have a social following? Have you done interviews with potential users? Maybe do you have a community waitlist? And number four is your voice. Are you capable of explaining what you're doing in human, not in tech? Okay, so those are your four elements. And so just remember, if you've forgotten everything I've said, remember that you're not just building an app, you are building trust. And trust gets you users, trust gets you investors, and trust builds teams. Because apps are easy to copy these days, especially, but trust is not. This is why I want you to begin building brand. I want you to begin building trust before you even think about what features you are going to have. So, my dear smart people, this is the end of today's lesson. So if you found this lesson useful, and I assume you did because you're still watching this, then please leave this show a rating and a review on Apple or on Spotify, or just press like down below if you're watching on YouTube. That would really warm my heart. And subscribe if you haven't yet, because if you want to learn how to build tech companies without drowning in tech jargon, then obviously Tech for Non-Techies is what you need to be listening to. And next week, I'll be with you from Cannes. So I'll be talking to you from the Cannes Lions, and I'll be sharing what we as founders, what we as innovators can learn from the biggest brands. That's going to be a really interesting episode. Okay, on that note, have a wonderful day, and I'll be back with you next week. Ciao.